Hello, hello, and welcome to my little corner of YouTube. My name is Megan, and this is my Flosstube. It is currently February 28th at like 7 in the morning because I have to film this before I work because I will not have any time to film it this weekend. And I wanted to have it up on the 1st. Not because I feel obligated to have my videos up on the 1st, but because the 1st just conveniently falls on a Saturday. So I'm still not putting pressure on myself to produce for the 1st. It just, if I don't do it now, you won't see it till like next weekend, and that's too long. So that's where we are. I apologize for the lighting. I have no overhead lighting in the living room in my apartment, so I've got like lamps and like lights over there, but they're probably all too far away to like properly light exactly this spot. So we're gonna have to deal. I do have a little ring light that I sometimes use, but the problem is that it reflects so brightly off my glasses, and I just don't. I don't want that, and you don't want that, so we're not gonna do that. Thank you for the lovely welcome back on my last video. I really missed the interactions. So thank you for anybody who watched and commented or just watched. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. I realized after I uploaded my video last time that I just sat down and went to business. But there are some people that I want to shout out that I should have done in my last video, and I definitely didn't, so I'm gonna do that this time. And also, I was very off script last time, but I have written down a list. Look at me, I'm getting better immediately. Okay, so first I want to shout out some folks. First and foremost, I want to stitch out. I want to call out or shout out my stitching family. My ladies from Stitch North, who have been massive supporters of everything, not just Flosstube, but like anytime you pull out a new project, all of these ladies are just 10 out of 10 people. So I just want to shout out these wonderful, wonderful humans. So hello and thank you to Karen, Francis, Melissa, Marika, and Aaron. And my mother. I love you, Mom. My mother doesn't care that I do Flosstube. I don't even think she watches my Flosstube, but then that's totally fine. But she very much cares that I do cross stitch, and she's the worst enabler in the best way. So shout out to my stitching family. There are also some additional ladies that I would like to shout out, but I'm not going to use your names because I don't think I actually asked you if I could. But there's 3 lovely ladies that I met at Stitch North in October of 2024 who, upon finding out that I had at one point posted Flosstube videos, were adamant that I should continue and that they were looking forward to new videos from me. So just the absolute blind support took me by surprise. So to you lovely ladies from October, there are 3 of you. Thank you. Thank you for your support. It was very warming. Then I would like to I thanked my mother too soon, so I'd like to thank my mother again for being my mother. But I would also like to thank my Aunt Peggy, who always takes an effort to comment on my videos. Thank you. And I would like to thank my cousin Jen, because she often comments on Instagram. So thank you to my blood family. And last but certainly not least, I just want to thank Deborah, who always comments on every single one of my videos. It doesn't feel like my video is complete without a comment from Deborah. So Deborah, thank you for always posting on my posts. I also am so happy to know that you and I are project buddies. That makes me so happy. It's such a beautiful piece. So I'm so happy. So thank you to all of you folks who are amazing. Moving on to core content. I have quite a few projects to show you. And then we'll talk about, I don't have any haul, but I do have some books to talk about. And we'll see how I'm doing for time. Maybe I'll give you a bit of a life update at the very, very end of the video, because I definitely didn't do that in the last one. So we'll see how we do for time, because I am very conscious that I have limited, I have to work at some point. So let's get cracking. February, despite being a very busy month for me, one of the busiest months for me, I actually managed to get quite a lot done. I touched a lot of projects, which is the point of my stitching type, is to stitch a lot of projects. So what if I turn this light on over here? No. Pardon me. Okay. So the first one that I would like to show you is my razor focus piece. This has been my razor focus piece for about 4 years. This is the 4th year that I have just been like grinding on this piece. So the piece is Boho Winter Owl by Sandra Vargas. This is charted by GeckoRouge. It doesn't come in a set of 4, but there are 4 of them, one for every season. So I have to finish what I have to finish by the end of March. So I think that's not a problem. I think I'll be fine. But here he is. Once I finish this chunk that I'm working on, I will have my 4th and a bit page finish. Can you tell? No, you can't tell. This is the pattern, but you can't really, this is what is left on the page, and then I have like a skinny page. So we're almost done, and once I get that done, the first row is complete. The only downside to that is I'm only stitching background, and then next time I stitch it, it'll only be background. So it's a little, it's nice because, it goes really fast, but it's not nice because it's so boring. And this is housed in a owl bag that my mother made me. I picked up the fabrics. She put it together, and she gave me a little boondoggle. And this is boondoggle. Anyway, so here is where I am at, on the owl. Ooh, the backlight does not do this nice. Okay. Yeah, the lighting is not good. I'm sorry. I have to figure that out. I might have to go back to doing the Flosstubes in my room. Okay, so this, I don't know if you can see, that is the end of the page. So I have this much to do by the end of March. I don't think that's going to be a problem. I've been doing 50 stitches on this a day, but not every day. So I'll sit down and I'll do 350 stitches on this on Monday, and then I won't touch it again for the rest of the week. But I'm just trying to make sure that I do enough every day to finish it on time. But I think I might actually, because I'm so close to the end, I think I might actually just stitch this weekend, power through it and get it done. Yeah. So, and then once it's done, like I mentioned this in my last video, and it came out of nowhere in my last video, but now that I've said it, I'm thinking it's probably true. I might take a break. I still have obviously 3 more to go. I have to do the rest of the seasons, but next year, I don't think I'm going to stitch on these at all. I think I need a break from the owls. We need a little bit of separation. Methinks. Yeah, so Boho Owl. The next thing that I stitched on was the love of my life, my Ride or Die project. It is in a hydrangea bag that my mother made, and I got this little jingly thing from October Stitch North. I put it on this bag because I was stitching June at the time, but it's really annoying, and I'm not sure why I'm leaving it on there. This is June Blooms, designed by Margaret Morales and charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. I don't remember. I think I was working on... I wish the lighting was better. What if I turned this on ever so briefly when my glasses are not. Yeah, okay. There, see? I'm going to try and hide my glasses. That is, last time you saw her, I think I was, like, kind of working on this column, I think. It was somewhere, I finished the column, and that was good for me. But I think when you saw her last time, I had just started the column. I can't remember. But there she is. She's coming right along. I'm so excited. Like, moving on, it's just going to be flowers over here. So I'm done with her face until I come back around to it the next time. Which, like, is kind of sad because I do like stitching her face. But I am also, I'm happy to stitch anything because all of these colors, like, I'm not a huge fan of green, but I think this is the largest chunk of green in the pattern and it's done. So that's June. Turn this light off so I don't blind everybody. June, I have been stitching on for, I want to say 5 years this year. Yeah, 5 years this year. I started her on my birthday, I think in 2020. So we go way back, and she is stitched on, I want to say 32 count, some type of fabric. It is like buttery soft. And I know I've told this story before, but when I went to go and buy the fabric, the ladies were like, why wouldn't you just get like white? And I was like, but because I'm going to be looking at the fabric, like I'm going to be looking at this fabric for years. Like this is not a weekend project. So I have to be looking at a fabric that I also like. And I don't like stitching on white unless I have to. So anyway, we got into a fight. And then I tried to ask for the sparkly silky thread to grid. And they were like, why would you do that? Listen, ma'am, don't judge me on my cross stitch story. Like, let me live my life. So this June, I think I stitched on her for a weekend. Ugh, she's my favorite. Her colors, the way she looks. Margaret Morales has released a couple of pieces, and they're always beautiful. I don't think I could ever do, well, actually, maybe that's not true. If I get June done, maybe I could do another cross stitch, but she also has diamond paintings that catch my eyeballs. They catch my eyeballs. Next, I stitched on my New Year, New Start for this year. This lovely bag is from Gita's because this is where I bought all the stuff and I don't have a project bag for this project. Oops. But this is my New Year, New Start for this year. It is part of a set of 3. They are Philippine goddesses of the morning moon and stars. And this is Tala, deity of the stars. She's so pretty. And I had started her sister Hanan last year, and there's a third sister named TBD. Oh, she has it. I just don't remember what it is. To be started on this next year. So at some point, I'm going to have all 3 sisters in circulation. And then I'm going to try and get the Hanan finished next year. Tala finished the year after that. And then the third sister finished the year after that. So it's a 6-year kind of sprint of these ladies. But I do miss stitching on ladies. This is where I started on big girl stitching. Like once you graduate from the little kits that you get from Michael's, I stitched Mira's. So it's nice to come back to Mira-esque. The last time you saw her, I had the bottom of her dress done. She's stitched on the called for fabric. It is Be Stitch Me's Cosmos in, I want to say 32, because that's my favorite. And I'm stitching her with all the called for DMC and all the called for beads, except it calls for Kreinik as the sparkle filament, and no thank you. I'm using Treasure Braid, which sucks also, but less. So, yeah, I'm going to turn on the light while I get her rolling. That's where she is now. So I stitched the trim of her dress, that purple and yellow part, and I started on the ribbon that goes up the side of her dress here. And this is actually the tip of her wing. So once you get into the flow, they're really fast. It is block stitching for the most part. So, yeah. I'm working my way up. With Hanan, I started in the middle, and then I had to see the glare. With Hanan, I started in the middle, and then I awkwardly made it up to her head, so I stitched her head, and then I got so confused as to where the heck I was. So I'm just keeping Tala straightforward. I also stitched the skin of Hanan 1/1, which means I have to stitch Tala's skin 1/1, and I like the payoff, I like the way that it looks, but I did not like the process. So, we'll get there. That's probably next year's problem, or even the year after. But yeah, so, ways to go, but there is what she looks like now. I stitched on her also for a weekend. The way that I'm doing it actually I like it, because I do 350 stitches on my Boho owl at some point in the week, either all on Monday or split between Monday and Tuesday if I can. And then that leaves me Thursday, Friday, and the weekends free to stitch on whatever I want, which actually kind of works. It kind of makes sense, and it kind of works, and it kind of makes me happy. Okay, so then I stitched on another new start that I had last time. This is in a Jen bag. Hi, Jen. Probably my favorite purchased bag. It's Alice in Wonderland. I don't know if you can tell. It's Alice in Wonderland, and Alice in Wonderland is my favorite story. So I saw this fabric, and I was like, this is mine. So I decided to start something new as well. If you know me, you know me, and I'm a person who has to stitch a series if there is one. And this happens to be part of a series. It's a seasonal collection from Owl Forest Embroidery. This is what it looks like. It's kind of different from me. I don't often gravitate to things that have motifs. I'm usually either a full coverage or this is distinctly a thing stitcher, but I saw these and I thought, wow, those are really cute, and so I bought all of them. And then my mom bought me the called for floss for Christmas, and the called for floss is dyed by Owl Forest Embroidery, and it's DMC, but it's over dyed. And the fabric is not the called for fabric. It's a 32 count fabric that I did a floss toss with all 4 seasons at Gita's. So it is the same fabric for all 4 seasons. When I started stitching this the last time, I realized that, when I started stitching this the last time, January, I realized that the center square is mostly specialty stitches, and I was like, oh, no. I don't mind specialty stitches, but I don't love specialty stitches, you know what I'm saying? So, we got through them. We got them done. And this is where we are. So I finished the center square motif, and then I stitched, what did we stitch next? I stitched this trees on the top, and then I stitched down to here, and then I've stitched this, and so I've got, it's like snowmen over here. But I realized in February I've made a grand error. You probably don't know what it is, and if I don't tell anybody, nobody will ever know what it is, but I know what it is. You see these trees up here? You see these trees? You see how this one is just a shade lighter than this one, right? So these are 2 different variegated greens, barely. Oh yeah, you can tell. Okay, great, cool, great. I thought in my naivete that they were just two skeins of the same green, because there's a lot of green in the pattern. And so I grabbed a skein of green and stitched this green border around the middle stamp, and it's the wrong green, which like isn't a big deal because green is green, but kind of is a big deal because now I'm gonna run out of this green. So I have to find ways, while it's still fresh in my mind, to stitch the equivalent of this in the other green on the wrong green so that they're back in balance. But I don't, because as soon I'm gonna stitch it in March and then I'm gonna put it away and I'm gonna have forgotten that this is a problem. But it wasn't a big enough problem for me to be like, I'm gonna rip it out. So I didn't. But that's where we are with these guys. I've got maybe, I don't know. I'm not trying to give myself a goal for this. Like, for a lot of my projects, well, not anymore, but I've been a very regimental stitcher. I've always been like, okay, you have to get a page finish of this, and you need to stitch like this much of that. And this is part of a series. And so my brain, my brain is defaulting to, you should try to get these many motifs done. Like the center square plus this many motifs. But I really am trying to be like, no, just stitch it because it makes you happy. I don't know which side is winning for this particular piece because it's part of a series. And I'm going to want to keep them consistent with each other. So I don't know. But that is, what is it called? It is called Snowy Winter. And like, I don't know, see. So I just like pulled out here. I pulled out the greens. Tell me those don't look exactly the same. Dang it. When I'm showing you, they're obviously different greens. But when they're bunched up in here, whatever, I don't have to justify myself. I made a mistake. I'm aware of my mistake. I will endeavor to correct my error. Oh, I don't know. All of a sudden, my nose is super itchy. It is dry. It is a dry winter in Canada right now. I'm surprised more people don't have nosebleeds. And then the final thing that I stitched on in February, with the exception of today, I will be stitching something tonight, but I'm probably going to stitch the owl, so you've seen that. But the last thing that I stitched in February was my only Christmas stitch ever, aside from the ornaments that my mom and I make every year. This is also a Jen bag. I saw this one and I thought, this is adorable. This is the only Christmas pattern that I've gravitated to. It's not that I don't like Christmas. I love Christmas. I just don't like the colors. I'm not a green and red fan. I don't like gold. So it's always been hard for me to find a pattern that I like. But Shannon Christine Designs released this last year as a kind of a mystery stitch along. And I really liked it, but I didn't have room in my plans to start stitching it like in August. What was that? Oh, that was my needle minder. So I didn't, but I'm stitching it now. And I'm stitching it. I don't have to finish it. I have one rule for this piece, and the rule is whatever weekend falls closest to the 25th of that month is the weekend that I stitch this on. So I stitched on this last weekend because the 25th was Tuesday. Yeah. And I'm not stitching it this weekend because this weekend is March. So that was the weekend that I could stitch it. So this is the piece. Technically the deer is done. Not technically. The deer is done. She's finished and the border is finished as well. And I'm stitching this with all of the called for DMC, except I can't find 968, 986. I can't find 986, so it's 987. Sucks to suck. But that's the little deer. I think these are so cute. And the borders, it starts off being like really fun, and then by like about here, you're like, okay, let's finish this. And I was color completing, so like I finished all of the white. I don't know, you can see the sparkly lines are my gridding floss. I'm leaving it in the project so that I can just move it over to the next grid. But I color completed with white, and then I color completed, like I kind of tried to go from the lightest to the darkest colors, because I don't know about you, but like when you stitch and then you stitch with white and that color, like the little fibers pull through on the white, it just ruins the entire color. So, and then I stitched this little border. It took me a hot second to realize that these are like iced cookies. These things, I'm like, what are these brown and white things down here? But they're Christmas tree cookies. Got there. But yeah, there we go. That is my deer. I don't actually remember what's next, to be honest. And it's a bit of a battle to get these PDFs onto my pattern keeper on my tablet. So I have to do that battle eventually. But yeah, that is everything that I stitched on, except I do have a cross-stitch adjacent project that I would like to talk about. I'll put my needle minder back in my bag. Sorry. I have a, cross-stitch adjacent project that I want to talk about. I saw this at the end of last year on Instagram, and I thought, oh, that could be interesting. Sorry, my brain just paused because I realized that I don't have the image for this. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to go get the image. Image procured. It's beading embroidery. And I thought it was really interesting because I really love beading. Sometimes it's my favorite part of pieces that are like Mira's or the Bellas that I've got. Like, I love beading. And a couple of years ago, I just did a cross stitch that was totally beads by myself. Like, it was a little tiny, it was like a Christmas ornament. But I was like, we are beading this. I just love it. And so that is what this is. It is just beads. This is the color scheme of the project. Pinks and purples and beiges, and it's such a fantastic experience because all of the beads are the same bead. They're just different colors. So it's not like you're fighting with your needle because these beads are skinnier than those beads, and these beads are, opaque, but these beads are clear, and like, what floss do you use? And anyway, it doesn't matter. You just choose, you get the bead that has the right number on the bag, and you bead. They give you like a whole spool of thicker thread, and you bead. Anyway, I'm gonna show you the piece first because the only thing that I don't like about this is that it's like printed on this like thick canvas. I am not a fan of stitching on Aida, and this is like 10 times as bad as Aida. But like, that is what the pattern is. Can you tell what that is? I certainly can't. And the other thing that I don't appreciate about this is that the colors are very soft of the actual piece, but the background is like psychedelic. So, it shows through where the beads are. Whatever, it's fine. This is definitely a piece where I'm stitching, it's a journey stitch. It's not a finished stitch. But it's massive. So like, that is the size of the piece. And this is how much I have done. I don't turn on the. So we're in a world of beige and pink, and I am not mad about it, although like, I get some darker colors over here. But like, it's so much fun. All these beads. And I just like, every time I finish a floss, I always just like run my hand over the beads. It makes me so happy. But yeah, can you tell what it is? It's supposed to look like this. Someday, in 50 years, when I get it done. But I thought that was really pretty. I really like lotus flowers. They're my flower of choice. So yeah, kind of a new hobby, although it's really just, it's cross-stitch adjacent, so I feel like it falls in the same general category, but it's actually a lot of fun. The only downside is that like I have this, my roommate let me use one of her paint palettes because I'm going like typewriter style across. Like I'm not, if you like tried to do just one color and then when you came back around to put the next bead in, it would be so hard to get it in there. So I'm typewriter style doing the beads one by one, row by row. And it's fun. I like it a lot. That is everything that I stitched. That is everything that I touched, everything that I stitched. That is it. I have no haul. I didn't buy anything because the only thing that I need right now is $9.87, but I can't. Well, actually, that's not true. I was about to be like, but I can't find it. But that's $9.86 that I can't find. $9.87 I'm sure exists because that's the way of the world. I just haven't had a chance to go to Michael's since last weekend. For the month of March, I'm stitching all the same things. I need to get a finish on the Boho owl, number one and most importantly, and that hopefully will be done by Sunday. I have another HAED. Excuse me. Sorry. I have another HAED that I really want to also pull back out because I haven't touched it yet this year. The stitching shelf. I would like to stitch that, I think, in March, and everything else is the same. And who knows? I could totally change my mind. But that's the plan. March 1st, April 1st, I think, is a Monday. So I'm trying to convince myself that I do not need to produce the video on the 1st of March, April. I can post it whenever I want. I just need to do it at the end of the month. Easier said than convinced. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to talk a little bit about books. So if you do not care, then I will see you next month. If you do care, do I have some books for you? I'm a very slow reader, and I try to have a physical book and an audiobook going at the same time, and I'm trying to get an audiobook done every month. Trying being the key word there. Sometimes I'm successful, and sometimes I am not successful, and we'll see how it goes. But the first book that I finished in February, I had started in January, and it is called Long Shadow by Olivia Atwater. It is the third book in a series of, Regency fairy tales. So it's a fantasy, but it's set in the Regency era. And the first book is called Half a Soul, and it is really good. I really liked her writing style, and I liked the characters in that book, Half a Soul. The second book is called 1,000 Stitches, and it is good. It's not as good as the first one. And then this one is Long Shadow, and it was okay. The twist was something that I didn't see coming, which is rare for me, and I'm not trying to be like, oh. It's just like, in romance novels, you can kind of see where this is going, and I thought I had no idea. Anyway, it's good. This one in particular is a LGBTQ plus book. The first two are not. This one is, and that was I don't want to say surprising because I don't mean it in a bad way, but usually when authors write romances, if it's a heterosexual couple in the first one, that is what they write about. So the fact that the author switched it up for the third one made me really happy. It just took me by surprise because she broke formula, the normal formula that I expect from romance novelists who write like series of books. So they're not serious in the sense that like you have to have read the first two books. You could pick this one up and be totally fine. But the characters from the previous books play a role in this book. Not major roles, except that's not really true. You should probably have read the first one. You don't have to read the second one to read this one. But I recommend them. There's just soft and fluffy reads. It was really good. And she's written another series. I think this like set in Edwardian times. Fairy tales, same kind of thing in a different era. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, good book. I also finished an audiobook this month. I finished Jingo, which I think is book number 21 in the Discworld series. And I've been slowly making my way through the Discworld books. I was put onto these books by my best friend Emily, who, like, they are, I don't want to say that they're high fantasy. I guess, but they check a lot of boxes of high fantasy, but they don't take themselves seriously enough to be high fantasy. It's written by Terry Pratchett. And from what I understand, the first couple of books were a satire on the fantasy genre. But the world that he has built, the Discworld that he has built, I would live there. Like, it's so fascinating to read about, and he's written, I think there's like 40-something books total. Not all written by him, I don't think. I think his daughter wrote a few, because he passed away. But, like, the ones that he has written build on the world without crossing out stuff he's already written or, you know, confusing the masses. He was really good at being like, here is an additional information that you need to know about the world. And the nice thing about the Discworld is that you don't have to read all of the books. Again, with the Discworld, you can pick up any book. It's just better sometimes to pick up the previous book because then you might know who the characters are. And not all of the books have the same characters. So like Jingo it's part of the Watchmen's arc in the Discworld, and they're like the police of the main city of this world. And the main character is Samuel Vimes, and he's just this curmudgeonly man who has a heart of gold and the moral standings of like basically Jesus. Like, he's a good character. They're all good characters. The Watch has probably the best characters in the arc. Like, in all of the different arcs, they have the Watch are the best characters. It's not my favorite arc. I like them all. They all have really good characters. But this one is basically like an island rises in the middle of the ocean, akin to Atlantis, our world Atlantis. And two nations are going to fight over this island. And so, like, there's an assassination attempt. Like, there's assassination, there's espionage, there's confusion, and Sam just, like, slowly over the course of the book figures it all out. And it's good. It's a solid, like, they're entertaining, they're funny. I've laughed out loud listening to Jingo so many times because these characters send me. They send me. So yeah, I do recommend the Discworld. I do also recommend the Discworld as audiobooks. They're usually pretty quick. Like, the first couple of books in the series, I think, are 7 hours each. And then this one was, I think, 13 hours. Like, they're quick. They're quicker than most audiobooks. And he packs so much into that time. So I do recommend the Discworld if you are a fantasy reader. And I do recommend the audiobooks because they are being released now as not quite full cast, but one narrator will read the whole arc, which, like, is a pro because, you know, that's kind of cool, but it's also a con because the original narrator of the audiobooks, like, when I started the audiobooks, the narrator's name was Nigel, and he was so good. Probably the best audiobook narrator I personally have ever listened to. He does such a good job of all of the voices. And then all of a sudden they decided to re-record them with, like, a different cast. And, like, they're fine, but I do miss Nigel. But I do recommend the audiobooks. I'm repeating myself because I really liked this book. Yeah, 5 out of 5. Good choice. Good read. And then I finished another book that I had rented from my library. It is called The West Passage. I don't know how to describe this book it was probably the wildest book I have read in a long time. It's like I don't really know the plot. Like I couldn't really tell you the plot. A lot happens, but then like nothing really happens. It's kind of like if Studio Ghibli did The Labyrinth, like the Jim Henson's Labyrinth. It's wild. It like there's two main characters, and one is female and one is male, and they live in, there's 5 towers. I shouldn't even bother to try because it's the wildest thing. But there's 5 towers. They live in a palace, but the palace is the size of like a city, like a big city, like Toronto. It's massive. Like all of the people in the world live in this palace. And there are 5 towers, gray, red, black, yellow, and blue. And the 5 tower, there's like mythology surrounding the 5 towers. Anyway, the 2 characters that we meet, they're in the gray tower, which is like the quietest tower. It's like isolated from the other towers. They're very like set in the past, set in their ways, and then tragedy happens to both of them at different, like, separate tragedies happen at the same time to these 2 people in the same place, and then they both quest to get to the main tower, which is the Black Tower, which is where the ruler of the palace lives, because they both need to tell this person the tragedies. Anyway, the writing is beautiful. It is so beautifully written, which is probably why I kept reading it, even though I had no idea what was happening. And the characters, I can't even say the characters are good because they're kind of bland. You don't get a lot from the characters. You get a lot from the characters' experience of the world, but you don't get a lot from the characters because it is third-person POV of the characters. So you're watching the characters walk through this palace. And like there are a couple of characters who die in the book, and their deaths are brutal, and they come out of nowhere. Oh my God! Like one of the ones I read it, and I had to kind of like, is that? Eesh. I had to reread it anyway. I can't decide if I would recommend this. If you are somebody who, here's what I'll say: you need a visual imagination to read this book. If you are somebody who just reads the words on the page and they're words on the page, I don't think you'd enjoy this book. But if you are somebody who plays what is happening in the book like a movie in your mind, this is a wild experience. Yeah. And it ends, like I was talking to my roommate about this, and before I finished the book, I said, I don't even know how I want this to end. Like, there's so many ways that this could end, and all of them are fine. And it ended fine. It was a good ending. So, I don't know. Read it, I guess. Read it, but, like, I went into this blind, so I'm telling you, proceed with caution, but it's a pretty good book. I liked it. Yeah. It's 45 minutes. It's 8 o'clock. I'm trying to decide. I think I still have time to give you a bit of a life update. I'll give you a bit of a life update. First off, let me say, for those of you who don't know me, I have been struggling with my stomach for a while now. I've had really bad stomach pains, and the doctors were useless, and they were like, oh, it's IBS, good luck. And then I went to a naturopath, and she was like, no, here's what you need to do, and it'll be fine. And so that was great. It was a really long struggle, and like it was exhausting because, no offense to the medical community, but once they've done the tests, they leave you to your own devices. And I don't know, it makes you feel like a number and not a person. So I was very dejected and upset with the medical community for my stomach. And this has now repeated itself. About a year ago, I think in last April, I had this bizarre, like, I want to say vertigo attack. I was sitting at my desk at work, and all of a sudden it just felt like somebody had whipped me around on my chair really fast, and I got so like, it's one of those times where like the color drained from your face, and I was so dizzy and disoriented, and I thought I was going to be sick. And that something like that has never happened to me before, and it passed in about 5 minutes. Wild. And then I went to bed, and I woke up the next day with a headache, and I still have that headache. It's been almost a year, and I can think of maybe 2 times where I have noticed the headache is not there. It's always a low-grade headache, but it moves around. Like sometimes it's here, sometimes it spikes and it gets really bad. Sometimes it doesn't spike, It's been a new thing that I've had to navigate, and once again, the doctors did the tests. They all came back clean, so I do appreciate knowing that the tests are clean. But then I was left to my own devices, and I don't really know what it is. I have my suspicions, but so I've been kind of dealing with that over the last year. It was really, really bad at the beginning, and then it kind of calmed itself down, and then last month it spiked back up again. It was a bad time. I'm okay today. Like, it's there, it's sitting right here, but it's not bad enough that I'm like, oh, I can't do a thing. So that is what is happening with me. I can't say I'm worried anymore. I was really scared at the beginning because I was like, oh my God, like, what the heck? But now it's just daily life, and that's great. So that is what I'm dealing with medically. Great. On a so much better news, the last time we talked, I was an administrator, but I was in school for bookkeeping, and now I am a bookkeeper. So at the same company that I was administrator at, I moved over into the bookkeeping team. I was in the bookkeeping team for a year. I got promoted to a second level bookkeeper in August of last year, which is when they normally do their reviews and they assess your performance and you get your bonuses and your promotions and blah, blah, blah. So I got promoted in August to bookkeeper level 2. And then the person who had a higher level role left. And a lot of that stuff came to me to do, which is fine. That was in my wheelhouse anyway. And then they posted for the job that this individual left behind, and I was doing all of those things, and so I applied for the job, and I got it. So I got another promotion just recently in February. So I am now I'm a cloud accounting specialist, and I'm so happy. I'm pretty proud of myself. That's 2 promotions in a year. Pretty good. So I technically have started the role, but I haven't really because it's busy season. So my manager and I still need to sit down and flesh out the role. But I got it, so I'm pretty pleased, and I'm looking forward to whatever comes from that. So fingers crossed for me that it goes well. But that's my good news. I can't think of anything. It's been so long since I've talked about my life that so many little things have happened. I don't know. I can't remember any other big things. But overall, I'm good. Aside from the headache, I am good. I'm happy, thriving. I'm excited to see what comes from this role. Yeah. So there's my news. There's my stitching, my books, and my news. I'm going to wrap it up because I do have to start work soon. So thank you for spending some time with me. I hope you guys have a lovely March. I hope the snow goes away where we are. It's pretty, but I'm done. I'm done with the snow. It can go. Happy Pisces season for those of you who are Pisces. When I talk to you next, it will be Aries. So happy Aries as well. Stay safe. Stay safe and warm. And, yeah. Bye.